So when do we actually use the distance formula? If you guys are anything like me, I actually like to see things put into play. So we're going to go ahead and solve for the distance between point A and point B. Notice I already went ahead and labeled them x1, x2, y1, y2. That way now I could just plug in values. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in our values here. Our x2 is 6 minus our x1, which is negative 2. Now, I always have to put parentheses when I separate signs. And I notice that I have to put parentheses around those two. So, how do you do parentheses when there's already a parentheses? You use a bracket. So we go ahead and put brackets around it just because we have a parentheses inside. Make sure you bring that squared plus y2 is going to be 4 minus y1, which is 5. Now we can just use parentheses because we don't have any other parentheses inside. And I square that. And I always got to remember to put the square root over the whole problem. And bring down my d. Wow. Just that step alone seemed like a lot of work. But it's really just a matter of substituting. Now we just got to work out simple math. I always like to get rid of two negatives, put my happy face, and turn it into a positive. Now, why do I do that? If you watch the video on adding and subtracting integers, you see that we never like to have two signs next to each other. So go ahead and rewrite that as 6 plus 2, put your parentheses, and squared, plus 4 minus 5, and all that squared. Now you're saying, you did a whole another step just for that? I think it's that important, and so should you guys. Go ahead and bring your square root down. Alright, so here we go. 6 plus 2 gives me 8. And I'm going to go ahead and do 8 squared. Plus 4 minus 5 should give me a negative 1. Put that negative 1 inside of a parentheses and then square that. And all that is inside the square root. Alright, we're almost there, guys. 8 squared is actually 64. So 8 squared, 64, plus negative 1 squared. Well, think of that as negative 1 times negative 1. I know a negative times a negative is a positive, and 1 times 1 should give me 1. Therefore, the answer to this would be 1, and all of that is inside the square root. All right, we're almost done. Let's go ahead and erase a little bit to make some room here. All right, so what is 64 plus 1? 65. So our answer should be d is equal to the square root of 65. Now, do you guys know the square root of 65? Not really, unless we use a calculator and we get decimals that go on forever. So for now, we are going to be able to leave it as d is equal to the square root of 65, or the distance between point A and point B is the square root of 65.